First off, I want to give a massive hello and thank you to all the new subscribers. We've had the most new subscribers in 1 week ever that we've ever had, that this channel's ever seen. Absolutely awesome. Who would have thought defrosting a windscreen could have been so popular? This past month has been a busy time, and in amongst my day-to-day, I've been trying to figure out what car I'd really like to use for the next European road trip. This has not been an easy choice, with certain factors out of my control making me really think what car I want it to be. Initially, I had to decide the obvious, really important things like budget. Do I want to finance the car? If so, for how long? And what would that look like as far as figures go? The initial plan is to buy something now, do a few trips, enjoy the car to the absolute maximum, and look to sell it around September. This is what I did with my Mercedes-AMG GTS I had the previous year. Initially, and following my recent Lake District weekend in the Porsche 992.1 GTS, there is a video for that trip. It will be at the end and in the description. I did think that this should be the car for me, at least the 992.1 of some description. This is where I started looking. It drove amazingly. I loved the colour. It had all the options and more I'd ever want. I even thought that maybe I should get rid of my daily driver, the Mercedes-AMG GLC 43, and simply have the Porsche 911, the 992.1 GTS as my daily driver for the summer. This car would be absolutely ticking every box and more. The only problem was, when I looked, it actually sold. Out came the laptop and onto Auto Trader, dialing in the search criteria for similar cars. The issue for me and this route was I was more than a bit concerned, actually very concerned, in relation to the hit I'd take financially on a car like this due to the new model upgrade of the 992.2 version arrival and the short term of planned ownership I had for the vehicle. I had lost £20,000 on the Mercedes, and ideally I did not want to repeat that again this year. And having asked some in the know Porsche guys I consider to be knowledgeable on the subject, everyone was seeming to say the same thing. I was going to lose a considerable lump of cash with a 992.1 GTS on this type of short ownership. Because of this, I started to look at 992.1 base Carrera models, searching through the new and nearly new sections on Auto Trader. From these searches, I made some calls and was being offered some amazing deals as the new shape had now just arrived. For example, this 992.1 had just been registered and was being sold immediately with delivery mileage and £12,000 discount. Looking at finance options on them, specifically PCP agreements, a lot of these cars were coming out at £600 to £700 per month on a 24-month deal, putting the maximum I could down on a PCP deal up front of around £25,000. This term, though, was well beyond the timescale I really wanted and planned for this car. I know from past experience buying end-of-line discounted models looks good at the time. In fact, you feel that you've got a bit of a touch, but in fact, you actually get a massive kick in the balls at the other end when you go to sell. At this point, I knew I had to completely rethink what car I should be looking for my European road trip. So I thought, I know, I'll go retro. Let's jump back a few generations. Suddenly, memories of 1980s whale tail 911s started going through my head. I jumped on Auto Trader and adjusted the search criteria, only to realise that this was absolutely not an option. I'm not paying the same cost for a 40-year-old car as a new one. Admittedly, it won't depreciate, but still, an air-cooled 40-year-old Porsche 911 is probably too much of a liability for this trip and the mileage I'll be doing going around Europe. Next, again, with the help of Auto Trader, I jumped forward to the first edition of the water-cooled Porsches, the 996. I made a couple of inquiries, even considered a convertible version. This lovely example was only 15 minutes from where I live. Budget-wise, they're super cheap for what you get. What stopped me going along this route was the fact that I really wanted a coupe and not a convertible. So again, With the help of Auto Trader, I tweaked the search and changed the criteria to the next generation of 911, the 997.1, which was produced between 2004 and 2009, I think. Looking at this car, I was wow. I had seriously forgotten how good this car looked. To me, it had aged so well, and I felt in my 53 years old way that it actually still looks really quite cool. In my opinion, the 997.1 is a classic Porsche. I know the purists say the only classics are air-cooled, but these are probably the same people who say you need to play records and not MP3s. Life moves on, and it's all about what you want yourself. I also, by this point, had decided I wanted a manual car and not an automatic. This age Porsche would not have a PDK auto box, only a Tiptronic. And also I feel I'll be able to sell it easier if it's a manual one come September. Although, also I thought I'd put the maximum mileage limit at 100,000 miles and only consider cars that the IMS bearing had been done. Apparently this is absolutely essential, but hey, if you read too much online, you'll never buy a used car, let alone a used Porsche. As I skimmed through the results, I narrowed my choices down to 3 cars. A 2006 Carrera in black with black leather that had only covered 50,000 miles. The price was higher for this car because of the lower mileage at £27,500, and it looked absolutely immaculate, finished in a black on black. Some would say the perfect colour combination. Well, actually when I say some, many of my actual friends. This whole car jumped out at me as the car as if I wanted to keep it, I could, for the long term. But I needed to remember the plan. I made an email inquiry through Auto Trader's system and not long after had a call back. I spoke with the salesperson at the location and the car came across really well. They were very keen for me to commit to the car at that point, offering a no quibble return facility if I bought it immediately, and they could have it delivered to me in a couple of days, stating if it was not as expected, they'd take it back. To be fair, that was a bit too much for me. I like to take my time, and often if somebody tries to close me, I simply switch off. Also, I need to think about this purchase and make the right decision. I did consider travelling to see the car, but other commitments got in the way. This car was the highest price of the 3 I shortlisted, and this was no doubt due to its excellent condition and very complete history and complete maintenance. As I said, I need to also remember my plan is to stick a load of miles on the car I buy this summer, and buying at a lower mileage example, paying extra for that privilege and then eliminating the reason it was priced more was not probably a great idea. In the end, I put that one to the side to consider, and the other 2 I'd shortlisted. Next on my shortlist was a 2005 Carrera S in silver with silver interior that caught my eye. It was with a Porsche specialist who I'd seen featured on another YouTube channel, Lucy on Cars, when they'd recently purchased a 996 4S from them. This S model had covered 70,000 miles and was for sale at $25,995. I contacted them through the Auto Trader system twice and no response. I assume that was due to my inquiry being during the Christmas and New Year's festive season, and they were probably closed that week. It was a shame they never came back to me, as the spec on that car was very appealing, as it had the more comfortable seats and a higher overall specification. I would really have liked to have at least seen the car in person. The detail that had been listed on the sale particulars was massive, showing the amount of work that had been completed, and it made me even more want to view that actual car. In the end, I assumed that I'd had no response, as somebody else was probably committed to buying it. As disappointing as it is, I'm a strong believer that if it's not meant to be, hey ho, that's life. That left me with my final car on the shortlist to check out. This one was a 2004 Carrera with just under 97,000 miles, right on the top end of my mileage limit. Again finished in metallic black, but this time it had a brown interior. I know that interior can be a bit of a Marmite for many, as they say, but personally I think it looks a bit classier black with the brown interior. The car has lots of history with it and plenty of very recent work, such as a new sports exhaust system. Again, this was at a Porsche specialist, one called MS Supercars. This time I used WhatsApp to contact MS Supercars and spoke with a guy called Martin, who it turns out owns the company. He was able to tell me all about the car's history, provide me with some walk round videos of the outside and inside. This was also over the festive season, no pressure sales, just details and facts about the car and images and videos as I requested them. Nothing was too much trouble. Over the next few days, I kept coming back to this one. I noticed it had been up previously for around 24,000, but it had been dropped to 21k recently, and it had been as low as 20k earlier in the year. As Martin explained to me, that was prior to the new wheels, exhaust, and a load of other documented work that had now been completed on the car. I went away and came back with a cheeky Christmas offer, which Martin respectfully declined. I left a day or so and asked him what did the deal need to be to make it happen. We agreed a mutually agreeable price, subject to me seeing the car and driving it on a test drive. Martin kindly put the car on hold for me. I offered a holding deposit, but he said that was not needed. So I popped over a few days later to have a look up close and personal of the car. When I say popped over, it was a 3-hour drive away. Hello, well, exciting day for me. I am off to go and have a look at the 911 that I've provisionally done a deal on, subject to seeing it and making sure it's all okay. So I've got a 3-hour drive ahead of me now from Shrewsbury to Lincoln. Well, showing 2 hours 40 at the moment. We're showing 3 hours yesterday, so that's good. I might actually get there just slightly ahead of schedule. Anyway, let's go and check this car out. Arriving at MS Supercars, I had a good look around the car inside the showroom, and then it was time to give the car a drive for 4 or 5 miles. It was at that point I knew this was absolutely the one I wanted. Before I drove it, I was thinking as the journey was 6-hour round trip, I'd probably get the car shipped home. Then halfway through the test drive, I was absolutely coming back to drive this car home. We agreed a deal, shook hands, and I paid the deposit, and the car is now mine. Excellent news is I have secured the 997, and I'm looking forward to picking it up in the next week. Very exciting. As it stands at the moment, I'm waiting for the weather to turn back from snow, for the roads to be dry, and I can go back and collect the car. This is the first Porsche I've ever purchased. I'm very excited about taking a 20-year-old Porsche around this trip around Europe. I'm a bit concerned if I've made the right decision. What do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Have I made the right decision? Should I have been looking at something else? If you're not aware who I am, let me introduce myself. I'm JP, and this is my YouTube channel, Roving Chestnut. Thank you for getting to this point. It really appreciated. Please like the video, share to your like-minded friends, and of course, hit that subscribe button and click on notifications so you get notified next time I publish another video. It could even be the one where I collect the 911 that's featured in this video. Do remember, small channels like mine really struggle to get viewers, and I could do with all the help I can get. We don't just say that for fun, it's a real issue, especially when your subject content is as random as mine. Once again, thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and until the next one, JP out. I'm really struggling to get a number plate for this car, not sure what I should get for it. Any suggestions, please let me know in the comments. I've been looking for ones that end in 997, as the car is a 997 version of a 911, but the letters available are all a bit random. Maybe I should get my initials on a plate and I can move that from car to car as needed. Anyway, let me know your thoughts and comments. Oh, is that the time? Have to dash. Thanks again.